so coffee. I'm going
Okay, so Charles meeting, the regularly scheduled meeting of the South Carolina order. Join me in pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, so I don't think we probably have any comments. Are there any corrections to the consent calendar? None? We have a motion?
I have a motion to adopt the consent.
We'll move on to item 6A, the Keller Heavenly Water System Improvements Project.
Hello, Kurt Bush, Associate Engineer. You're talking about the rock fall mitigation elements of the Keller Heavenly project. As you may or may not be aware, the Keller tanks are highest tanks in our water system up off of World Cup off of Sherman Way near Heavenly Ski Area. There's a pretty hazardous slope that we've had concern about for a number of years. It continues to deteriorate. Did get those granite with some boulders up above. Every now and then the smaller ones come down, and we want to get ahead of it as part of the Keller Heavenly project, which will include a rockfall fence and removal of that rock and potential fencing on the hillside to help stabilize it. And so the consultant services that we're requesting with Sage Engineers, which is now Kenneth Fleming, is to design that particular system. And it's always been a component of the Keller project. We had a sub-consultant, Kane Geotech, which is also a rockfall specialist, on contract under our Far West, which is our primary consultant. We're now at about 60% design level for those rockfall drawings, and we had some concerns on review at that point. We stopped their work and requested an outside review of Kane's work by Sage Engineers. We thought there might be the potential for more cost-effective systems, systems that have reduced impacts to the hillside, which is owned by the U.S. Forest Service, and also we were concerned about the use of proprietary products for these rockfall elements. We like material specifications, design drawings that just about anyone can bid on or supply as needed. So rather than a name brand fence, we want a specification for that fence so that we have a broad pool of contractors. We don't have to come to you to do a sole source determination, and we also feel like we'll get more competitive bidding on these products. So we looked at the scope that we had, which was quite small given the value of the work. Kane's design budget was $9,000, which is very small because the construction cost for that element was over 1.1 million. So a really offset ratio for that, and we realized that was what was partially driving the selection of products rather than a complete set of design drawings. So due to our concerns, we had stopped their work. Following Sage's review, we felt like they could implement a more cost-effective solution, one that would be more competitive and compliant with our purchasing requirements without going the sole source route. So the The scope that you see here, this is to get us from all the survey work's been done. We're going to have another site visit. The bulk of the field work's done. This is to get a 90% design package toward the end of the summer that we could then bid in the fall as part of the overall Keller water system improvements. One other item I wanted to touch on, I understand this came up under our agenda review, was who signs task orders and ECAs of the district. Typically, we have our prior general manager, Richard Solder, signing those. So we will be coming forward as the engineering department to request authorization for John to continue signing those documents as the general manager. I guess that was a question that came up with Gary and a couple of others about who had the authorization to sign those. So we will be coming forward at a future date to request authorization for John to continue signing task orders and master service agreements for consultants. So welcome any questions, or if you want more of an update on the project.
Would you say these are additional consulting services or just the same line of services redirected from Kane to Gannett?
It is a similar scope of services. It is slightly more expensive, but we are estimating that they'll reduce the construction costs from around $1.1 million to between $500,000 and $600,000. So we think, well, this is additional services. We do think it's money well spent due to the cost savings. Both the cost savings and the reduced scope of the potential improvements on the hillside are going to make things easier with permanent US Forest Service.
Thanks.
No, I agree. I think it's money well spent, especially when you're dealing with Forest Service scope, all things included. No, I think it was very well done.
It's something we've been talking about with the operations committee for a long time. Back and forth on budget.
I was up there for a communications question today, and I took a picture of a rock that I want to show to our field crews, because I'm trying to tell if that rock was there before next to the tanks. So it's not getting any better up there. But Eli, I'd like to read the requested board action. Requesting that you approve Gannett Plumbing Incorporated's proposal for Keller Tank's rockfall mitigation design services for the Keller Heavenly Water System Improvements Project in an amount not to exceed $56,040.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
I'll move approval of payment of claims in the amount of $2,426,389.17.
I'll second that.
And AD-HOC committee report? Oh, yeah.
You ready for me? Good afternoon. I'm here to request that the board waive the minor deviations and bid and award the project, the Heavenly Tank Improvements Project, to the lowest responsible bidder, who is Hain Constructors, in the amount of $968,255. We had a bid opening on May 28th. We received 3 bids. That was after we had 12 general contractors at the pre-bid meeting. So we were kind of surprised that we had as few actual bidders as we did. But we got a few of our regulars, hanging constructors, resource development company, who has done a number of tank construction projects for us, and MKD, who has been a bidder in recent projects. So the bids came in, the low bid was $968,255. That is substantially over our engineer's estimate. At the end of the day, we anticipated that that project was going to cost $827,000. The primary component of the project is recoding, and those bid prices for the coding elements of the project are competitive. They came in the range that we expected. Where the deviations mostly lie are on some of the site improvements. The project includes installing retaining wall to address a degraded hillside behind the tank so that we can maintain access around the backside of the tank. A security fence, not only to deal with ongoing graffiti issues at this tank site, which is in the middle of the Heavenly Resort, but also because in consideration of Department of Homeland Security recommendations that we fence tank sites. And then there's some other improvements for relocating Vale's snow leaking meter, which is currently suspended in the air about 15 feet off the ground. So bringing that down to the ground surface. And then some other BMPs and things like that are part of the scope. It's those items, those site restoration items and site work items that have the biggest deviations between the engineer's estimate and the bid prices. So our intention is that we award the project today in its entirety, including the added alternate bid item that was part of the scope, and that is the recoding of the tank shell to provide a new layer of coating, a graffiti-resistant coating, and that'll also at the same time cover up the existing graffiti on the tank. So that will be included in the scope, and then after the award, staff will return to the table along with the contractor and look at value engineering some of the site improvements, looking at the cost benefit of those individual line items, and then potentially change ordering out any elements that we think that we can forego at this time. So with that, I ask for your approval in awarding the bid to Tom Hain as the lowest responsible bidder.
Your estimate is $140,000 less than they came in with. Does that mean you get to get the job? Oh, yeah, you know.
Yeah.
The other two contractors are $300,000 and $400,000 above. Is there something that you didn't assume requirements?
Yeah. So one thing to note is that REC is actually a sub to NKD on NKD's bid. They would be performing the coatings for NKD. So that explains to you why NKD was the highest bid, because they were actually using the second bidder as one of their subs. And then I don't have a good handle, because I haven't had a lot of conversations with the other bidders as to what they were seeing in the work that we weren't seeing.
Well, selecting Kane's a good idea. I think he's always come up with some good suggestions that save us money.
I agree. I know he has ideas over the retaining wall, and I told him that one was really interesting to me. His price was double what we had put in our engineer's estimate. And yet our engineer's estimate was based on his actual costs of installing the same style of wall at the Luther Pass pump station 3 years ago. So the fact that his price was so much more, there's something going on in the market that we're just not aware of. But here we are.
I was just curious with the spray paint resistant coating. Does it not attach to the coating, or does it wipe away?
I think I do have to scrub it.
So it just allows you to scrub it off?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Chris, do you have any experience with that notice? A little bit, but Julie's absolutely right. It adheres to it, but if you get out there and you scrub it, it has a tendency to come off a lot easier than if it was regular paint.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we recently talked about actually putting it to the test. We have that coating installed on the generator building out of the pass in like the lower 10 feet. But I don't think anybody's like tried to and see what it takes. Okay, so any other questions?
I'll make a motion. Joe? I don't have a sheet.
You want me to read it? You can read it. To waive the minor deviation in the bid and award the project to the lowest responsible bidder, paying constructors in the amount of $968,255. I'll second that. Oh. Yeah, I'm like Melanie moving. Okay, so we'll have Jones moving it, okay. And then second. Thank you very much.
Okay, now I move approval of payment of claims in the amount of $2,426,389.17.
You already did that one?
Do we?
Yeah. Since we have the agenda, we can never usually.
Okay. All right, I'm like, we're really missing race.
Did we just double how much we spent?
But I think Debbie left, so she won't know. Okay, how about standing and how about committee reports?
I'm a board reporter.
Well, we can move on to that, since nobody's jumping in with yet.
Yeah, I was just going to bring aboard one of my reports. So, a group of people have been working with kind of a regional context to move forward this solar assessment MOU process. Basically, what this is a group. It's a lot of details, but comes in, reviews your solar capacity for free to let you know kind of the economic reality of how all these things are going to pan out. And then based on that, you can make a decision if you want to move forward. So they've done this in 3 places in California. They did it in the North Bay, Monterey Bay, and then as a result of kind of 100% renewable commitments here, now doing it here. And so I believe it was last month or the month before, the city of South Lake Tahoe signed to be the lead agency MOU, which meant that they're kind of the umbrella group that all these are going to, the solar assessment MOUs are going to be operating under. Since the city of South Lake Tahoe signed the MOU, and Frank Rush and Tina Shanner with the city really kind of spearheaded that. Nevada City had signed on partners in Truckee, sanitation districts, school districts, airports have also signed their own MOUs. And so this is a really exciting opportunity that I've been working on for a side thing, and just wanted to share with the board today.
And we've had some thoughts on how best to bring this forward to the board, get some direction from the board on how to take a look at the solar MOU, and if we should have Gary look at the MOU and expend district resources on this efforts. And one of the thoughts behind that was to maybe bring that to ops.
Right.
Next ops committee meeting, go over that in more detail, and Jim will be there. And then perhaps it sounds like the seed group will be available on June 20th.
Right.
Perhaps they can come and either at the board meeting or some other time to do some kind of presentation.
No, definitely. I think it's a really exciting process, and it all started as a result of a grant, where essentially they do this process, and if you sign on to it, then they get paid when you agree to go forward. But if you see the numbers and you don't like it, it's a no cost, no liability kind of assessment, so you can just step away. And really, the goal was, and still continues to be, is you just want to remove that entry barrier, because if you know you're going to have long-term savings in the future, that first 30K you got to spend out for a study like we approve all the time is always that piece. And so to kind of remove that entry to barrier, plus the purchasing power that's done looking at this in a regional context through a lot of different things, also helps to reduce cost. And so it's just a really exciting opportunity. And so, you know, having worked this process forward, just as honestly as a volunteer, with many of these other entities, every entity has questions as to, you know, how the MOU is structured, things you'd expect, but it's all relatively straightforward. So just whatever's comfortable the district look to move that forward. Looking forward to it. Yeah, thank you so much.
I got a couple of things. One first short one is last week I went down to the rim fire forest that burned 5 years ago. And Shannon and I are on the Headwaters Committee and looking at a lot of these issues. This was put on by the Forest Service and the Sierra Nevada Conservancy. All of the board members for the Conservancy were there, so it's kind of interesting there because they're trying to develop some policies and some other things, you know, that with all these fires the next 5 years. But they did, it was about a 150-mile tour, starting at Sonora and then going up and around and then through and back and forth. And they stopped at different places and had some speakers from the Forest Service and the Conservancy, as well as somebody from the John Muir Project, the Nature Conservancy, the Fire Restoration Group, a bunch of, some of these were people that were against what the Forest Service wants to do as far as logging the areas where there's still some dead timber in there. And they were back discussing the pros and cons of that. So that was an interesting tour. John Brisenden was there. I got to talk to him a short time, and he's on the board for the Conservancy. I talked briefly about his system over there at Sorensen's, and they're putting in a new system, and he thought within the next 2 or 3 weeks they're going to be testing that, and maybe ready to come look into our system for discharge. So
Spend some time getting there.
yeah, he seemed to be frustrated that that system they tried to put in before all had to be torn out and they started over again, and it's a lot of expense. So anyway, that was that. And then 3 weeks ago now was the Aqua Conference, and Shannon and Evo and Nancy were all down there also for parts of it. Shannon was actually there most of the week with me. It was interesting. The first day was the JPIA, which is the insurance group, and there will be no increases in rates this year for medical or property, even in light of the big fires that they've had the last several years. They're still evaluating that, but they've got, the water agencies weren't hit that bad in some of these areas. So even though whole towns were burned down, they didn't have that much of a money that they were going to need to replace their systems. The next day was the committees, and I attended the Water Quality Committee, the Groundwater Committee, and the Water Management Committee. There was a lot of discussion on some of the things that, ongoing types of things with wetland dredging and mercury and chromium and so forth. A couple of new things that are coming up are the plastic and microfibers. They're beginning to realize that things like nylons and fleece and particles are winding up in nature, in animals and in human bodies, and some of those are carcinogenic, and they're looking to do something to control that. It's a problem that's been coming for a while, but now with looking further at things like nylons and fleeces, there's more out there, just microscopic little bits of that. So, and then the other is PFAS. I'm sure you all know what PFAS is. Probably not. It's perfluoral organosulfonic acid, which is a chemical that was created by Monsanto back in about 1950. It's used in Scotchgard and Teflon and a lot of different things where they need waterproofing or
Firefighting chemicals.
Firefighting, yeah, a lot of things like that. And now they're finding that everywhere. And that's carcinogenic, and there's going to be more about that. One person, I heard one comment was that this may be the next asbestos problem. You know,
Yeah, it's a big problem when they're manufacturing that, especially.
Yeah, apparently there are much higher concentrations of people that are working around it than in the general population. Yeah. So that was an interesting day. There's a lot of discussion about, was it 669? SB 669,
Yeah.
which is the bill that Aqua and another organization has sponsored to offset the water tax that's been floating around for a couple of years. And so that's another thing that's coming. Getting on to then Wednesday is when the conference post-war and everybody shows up for that. They had about 1,800 people there. There were 1,600, I'm sorry. 80 events or 80 sessions, panels, speeches, whatever. And so there's always a lot. I mean, I've been involved in water issues since I got out of college in 1968, 51 years. And I always have something that's always good to go to these conferences. But there were some of the speakers were from Newsom's cabinet, essentially. Joaquin Esquivel, which is the chief of the State Water Resources Control Board, was there. Jared Blumenfield, who's the secretary of Cal EPA, and he was the EPA executive director in San Francisco for Region 9 before this, so he's got experience. Wayne Crowfoot is the secretary of Natural Resources Agency, and Carla Neiman was the director of the Department of Water Resources. So they all came and spoke, and I was kind of impressed. They seem to be saying some of the right words, and I would have to see if they follow through, right? So, but for a change, I was kind of encouraged, that they weren't just...
Feels like they're looking to collaborate with.
Yeah, and they apparently have been working with the governor directly and had several sessions where they're looking at the whole water issues, and so that should be interesting. There were a lot of things that went on, but I think those are the highlights.
Two things real quick. The Sustainable Groundwater Management Agency, DWR, comes out as part of Aqua and gives a report on that. The key piece for us is that over 2 years ago, we submitted these our alternative plans to the Sustainable Groundwater Sustainability Plan, and those have been in review. We've heard many times that when they're going to get those reviews done. They told us over a month ago that they were going to get it done in a month. They still haven't submitted those reviews. So once that analysis comes back, that will spark a lot more conversation about the groundwater sustainability plan going forward. And I think he goes here, but again, we haven't heard a follow-up as to when those reports when that analysis is going to be done.
We're going to hear that they expected it like June 19th to have those plans.
It was almost the day that at that one workshop, but it was by mid-June.
June 19th was the date that they said.
And so, yeah, we haven't seen anything, so the district has 2 alternatives sitting in the queue with them. Either one would be, we think both of those are very viable. I think the preference is to have the alternative for the groundwater management plan accepted. That would enable us to continue to use the groundwater management plan, make modifications to it as we see necessary in the future, without having to go back and create an entirely new groundwater sustainability plan. So hopefully that will come through.
The other thing I wanted to just give a brief update on is there's been some discussion in the media, I guess, around the water tax being dead, the threat of the water tax having been overcome, and that's not true. Aqua is still very much fighting that battle. The primary bills that were being advanced with respect to the water tax have been basically set aside at this point, but there are still there's still mechanisms where that can go forward, still negotiations going on, and we may continue to engage in that with Aqua on trying to prevent them from taxing water. That's all I've got.
It was a good conference, and let's see, Paul Shudo, spent a little time with him. Eric Saperstein's there, spent a little time talking to him. He's talked to us about coming out at some point this summer. Have you talked to him recently?
I just had some emails back and forth with him today. They're looking at their schedules and trying to decide what's a good time for them.
It's good. It's a good conference. And, I always learn a lot. I would recommend board members going to take advantage of the educational opportunities that provide both at Aqua and constitutes the other one.
DORADO County Water Agency prepared report.
We actually put in a revised project list into the water agency to Tammy again. Hopefully to get on the next board meeting. I haven't seen the agenda for next Wednesday, but hopefully it's on for action for next Wednesday. If not, I expect to be on the following one, but it's our revised set of projects for the next fiscal year. And so yeah, we'll see that on their action calendar soon.
General manager report.
Got a few items to go over, starting with the staffing update on 3 positions. And first of all, the customer service inspector, and this was an opening due to departure by Dan Huber. And we interviewed 2 in-house candidates, and we selected Ross Cole. So Ross has been actually working for us for quite some time, initially as a temporary employee for the last 3 years as a limited term meter inspector, as a meter tech. So Ross is, we selected him for the new customer service inspector, which is a full-time position. So we are looking to backfill that limited term position in customer service. That limited term position will go through the end of 2021. So that's currently being advertised until June 9th. So next I want to talk about our recruitment in engineering, which is for an associate or senior level engineer. We received 10 applications, and 3 applications were in-house applicants, and we had interviews on Tuesday, and we made a selection. Brent Goligoski was here with us today. Good job, Brent. I think you know Brent. Brent's, before he came to the district, he worked for Thomas Hayne Company, and initially he was a limited term junior engineer working on the meter project, and then about 2 years ago he became our asset management analyst, and it's just obviously taken that program to new heights, and it's really been the basis of our data-driven support for the Prop 218 for our CIP program. So thanks for that fantastic work, and we look forward to working with Brent in this new capacity. And of course, that means the asset management analyst position will be vacating soon. So we'll be beginning a recruitment effort for that. Thirdly, the water reuse worker. This closed last month with 51 applications. We interviewed 5 applicants on May 30th. And Tony Shinzing was selected as a successful candidate going out to Alpine County. He's currently on our pumps crew. So they'll be going from pumps to Alpine County, and we're looking to obviously backfill that position of pumps in looking at staff and talking to management and supervisors. It looks like we have at least 3 qualified in-house candidates. So we plan on this being an in-house recruitment effort. And so that's the staffing update. We filled 3 positions, and it's resulted in 3 openings. So keep Nancy and Liz running. So the next item I have is to talk about fire protection and response planning. And you have a couple handouts that were waiting for you when you came in today. So the first one is just It's called the South Shore Fire Protection Task Force. It's really just a draft, kind of a list of potential discussion items for the, in developing this task force. And, we're just at the front end of putting this together. It's just an idea to start a group really focused on the South Shore with the city, with Lake Valley, with local water purveyors, and getting us all to work together, boots on the ground, and look at hydrants, look at flow. And so this is really the first step. I'm setting up some meetings. Initially with the Forest Service tomorrow, actually, I'm meeting with Jeff Marcellet. And on the back of this is actually a map, which includes, it's mostly district facilities, but it's a number of district facilities that some of those are on or bordering Forest Service properties. And one of the things I want to talk to Jeff about is to look at defensible space at these critical facilities, not just on our own property, but out on Forest Service property as well. So kind of building this task force, starting with a meeting with the Forest Service tomorrow. I'm meeting with Jim Brain, he's the fire chief, battalion chief at the city. So I'm meeting with them on Monday. And really gonna, focus on maybe these first two elements on that list, hydrants and fire flow when I talk to Jim. Right now, if you look at one of the big issues, and it's come up again recently, it comes up from time to time, is on the hydrants, who owns them, who's operating and maintaining those hydrants over time, who's doing the flushing and flow testing for those hydrants. It's very expensive infrastructure, but it's kind of been, there's no plan. There's currently no plan who's responsible for maintaining these hydrants over time. So I wanted to begin this discussion with the city, who can, will, should be maintaining these hydrants over time. So that's one of the items to focus on in the near term here. And thereafter, Lake Valley, Tahoe, bring other people in for these various task force items and just build this, talk about emergency communications, all these different items on that list with the different groups, kind of bring ideas together and really help solve some of these problems on the South Shore and just focus on fighting fires, protection in South Lake Tahoe. So really looking forward to kicking this off, and this is really going to be, expect this to be a long-term, really continuously improving effort.
Josh, how about fire prevention on our properties, our own properties? The county now has an ordinance, and the states has some things, and ought to be.
Yeah, we've looked at all of our properties, in-house. We had Bud McClellan, he's on our pumps crew, but he was a volunteer firefighter in Alpine County when he worked out there, and he lives out there. So he has some experience in those assessments. And Chris Shannon, feel free to chime in. I believe we looked at all of our facilities, looked at our own property, and done an initial assessment on defensible space. But again, that's on our property. It's kind of focused on our property. We need to look maybe 50, maybe 100 feet, maybe a mile or more. In some cases, like at Luther Pass, how far should we look for defensible space at Luther Pass? So we've been, and Shirley's got a little more on this, but I'll work with the CDC and some of the fire space areas around the plant, fire protection around the plant. So I think Shirley has a little update coming forward on that later.
We've also used some of our limited term staff or seasonal staff to go out to these locations that Buck identified as being issues, cleaning up some of the smaller brush, timber, and cleaning those and improving the safety of those facilities. And that's been an ongoing process since last year.
I think this is a very positive step. If there's anything good to come out of photos we've seen in the last few years, I think the coordinated effort that you're going to see across the West would be that silver lining that we've seen some of the convention getting all of this to look forward.
Yeah, really looking forward to it, and especially when there is a fire, we want to work more actively with the fire agencies. There's a lot of things we can do on our system to help fight fires, close valves, add pumps to the system, move water around so we can fight these fires more effectively.
A lot of that through the Florida fire, the guys are out there middle of the fire, shutting off valves and doing things in this.
Right, and we want to get our crews some protection or really some maybe rules of engagement, some training when they're out there doing that. I mean, they're out there, you know, in the fire, turning valves without any protective gear and really without any training. Really concerned about our crews doing that kind of work under those conditions. So that's another thing on this list about training and what, you know, how our crews work with fire crews in that kind of an event. So last item I have is a California Tahoe Alliance, and I have this little handout here you can take away and get more information if you like. And I'm going to plan to bring forward a board item, a consent or action item, at the next board meeting on the California Tahoe Alliance. It would be a $12,000 item, which represents the district's share of a regional effort to identify, coordinate, and advocate for state funding opportunities. This is really very similar to our federal efforts with the Tahoe Alliance, but this is focused on our state legislators, state funding. And really specifically, we're looking for funding support for water quality and supply projects, firefighting infrastructure, and also environmental protection through sewer improvement projects. And you know, I really would say that I think one of the big advantages of this alliance is that we're speaking with one voice, one Tahoe voice in Sacramento, and it shows them that we're working together, we're creating some economies of scale in this effort, and I think we'll be heard. Certainly, if we're working regionally, we've seen that's a very effective way to rally for funds. And if you look on this list, this is the members of the alliance currently. Placer and El Dorado County, a number of other public utilities, also TRPA and the League, State Lake Tahoe Leagues. Great, we're working with TRPA and the League on this effort. Both, you know, I think it's going to be great on this effort and spill over into other projects that we're working on. So it's great to work with those folks, obviously, in this type of effort. This would be $1,000 a month for the next 12 months, and again, I'll be bringing that forward on June 20th.
Let's fire partnership in all of the fire departments within the Tahoe Basin, Nevada and California. How would that be good to have them on here? And would there be a conflict too? What this group is talking about doing versus what's being done or has been done with the partnership?
Yeah, I don't think it'd be a conflict, but we wanted this group to really focus not just on kind of what the fire departments are focused on, fuels reduction, but this focuses on more on water supply, water infrastructure, and then also projects on the sewer side.
If I can interject real quick, Jim, you know, the fire partnership really is focused at the federal level with the Forest Service, and so I think that's where that group, because it is multi-state and reaches a broader audience. This group, as John said, you may recall, this is something we have been involved with the past couple of years. This alliance is really focused in Sacramento. I think some of the conversations we've had in the past have been they've been really reaching out to develop a champion in the state legislature for Tahoe to be the person in the legislative community that brings people up here and really engages and is looked to as the expert in the Tahoe area in Sacramento. And I think they've been fairly successful with that. My recollection is actually that our new senator, Dolly, it was the person from the assembly that was really seen as the new, you know, expert in Tahoe, the representative for Tahoe. So beneficial for us that he has advanced and moved forward. The alliance and the alliance members have pretty good relationships with him, and probably the biggest success we've had from the alliance, in addition to raising our profile in Sacramento, has been that when we had this issue, the PCE issue, and we put that kind of coalition together to put pressure on the state water board, the alliance was a big, all of those individuals really stepped forward and were part of that effort. And so I think that's, to me, has been where the value has been in this effort, is those relationships, speaking with common voices, and us being part of that is really valuable, gets our issues on the table on this lobbying effort for Tahoe as a whole in Sacramento.
You got somebody in mind to do this?
They have a new consultant.
We've and this has really been forwarded by Chair Kay and the league at this point, directing this effort. But they sent out an RFP for those lobbying services, and it looks like we're selecting actually a couple lobbying teams actually to work together on this effort over time. And one of those I believe is called the Sierra Tahoe Alliance, if you're familiar with that. But I'll bring that detail forward next on June 20th.
Right, all my election is if he's the expert on that.
And again, the other big, I mean, we have water projects, infrastructure for fire, but also I've been talking to Lahan and TRPA about our challenges on the sewer side. I think it's over a third of our gravity sewer system is in SEZs, and so doing those improvement projects will help protect the environment. And they want us to join us in this effort to help look for funds to do those kind of projects in the future. And that's my report.
Staff and attorney reports. Looks like we have an email security update.
Good afternoon. My name is Brian Bartlett. I'm the Network and Telecom Systems Administrator. And it's more of an information security update as opposed to an email security update. I've got a couple of slides to go with it today. I just wanted to let you know some of the things that we're doing to safeguard our information here at the district. And then there's an issue that's sort of come up recently with some of our other member organizations that may or may not be a phishing scam, but we want to bring it to your attention because it's been meeting council members at cities, several cities throughout the state. So the security of our information systems and infrastructure is critical that those stay secure to keep our facilities running smoothly. This includes all of our major systems, and our SCADA systems, our financial systems, email, network. It's become a priority issue for both private and public entities in the nation and around the world. Our department is actively searching methods and talking with companies to help us improve our security footprint. We're looking at various tools. Some of the things we've looked at most recently, we're members of several organizations that help us with security. There's the Multi-State Information Sharing Analysis Center. There's Center for Information Security. There's our MESAC organization, which we get updates with. We're on a listserv with that organization. And people just put out, hey, we've seen this hit our agencies, just to be aware of, so we get information from them. They also have a cybersecurity committee that we've become part of that's just being kicked off to address cybersecurity issues as a whole for all of the agencies that belong to MESAC. We're still getting that set up as to what the output of that committee is going to be, but that's another forum we're participating in. Some of the tools we've put in place most recently is our Know Before training that's come out for security awareness. We rolled that out, I think in November we announced it and then rolled it out, had everybody do the security awareness training. We had a very good, I think we're at 100% participation on that, and actually our fish rates have been really, really good. Even before the training, we're very low in people hitting and being taken in by phishing emails. But our rate right now is at 0% for our fish-prone tendencies of the district. 90 days in, a lot of companies are still up in the double digits, 15% or so. So the district has been actually really good. The staff's been really good about, especially since training, forwarding emails and such to us that they think are suspicious. Along with that, we've rolled out several tools with the Know Before. We have a fish alert button that makes it really easy for staff to report phishing email. We rolled out the second chance tool that's part of the email system. So if you suspect, if you have a link in an email and you click it, a second window will pop up and it'll say, are you sure you want to go to this link? And it's a pause. So you're not just going out to that link, just not thinking. It makes you think about, well, do I really want to go here? Does this make sense? That's been rolled out to all staff in the last couple weeks. We have, let's see, my notes here. So security is a major topic amongst our peers at NESAC. Some of the things that we're concerned about, there's phishing, there's malware, ransomware. These are all types of ways, types of methods where people try and get information from you, try to get into your systems. Social engineering is another one where they pretend to be somebody in your agency. Say, oh, I'm so-and-so. The example we've seen from one of the cities in California was that they had a new city manager hired, and somebody pretended to be the city manager and asked for information on all the employees. And then there was some tax fraud going on with that information that got sent out by an employee. We've implemented a tool within our Mimecast system to scan for social security and credit card numbers. It's called the content alert notification. That will look for those patterns in emails that are going out to see if there's any of that information being sent out. And so far we've had one catch, and it was a legitimate email that was supposed to be sent, and everything else has just been a false alert. So we go through, we clear it, and release that message. But it's a good second scan through just to make sure something's not happening. So additionally, that's some of the things we're doing to come up to speed, but there are other things we're looking at too. We've done pen testing in the past, which is it's called penetration testing, and that's where we get an outside company to come in and examine our systems and see if they can break into our systems, both with an external attack and an internal attack, to find out what our vulnerabilities are. It's been a few years since we've done that, so we're looking to do that in the near future, to reassess our systems and see if there are any holes that we're unaware of. We're also looking at tools to monitor security events across our systems. These are called Security Information Event Management Systems, or SIEM. That aggregates logs, security logs from multiple systems here at the district, and alerts to suspicious activities that happen on different systems. Maybe it's not all in one system, it's a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit in another system, that when you put them all together, can say this is potentially an attack. So we're talking to companies about the tools and the offering that they have for those capabilities, and looking to roll that out in the next fiscal year. And then we've got our email security with our content notifications that I just mentioned, and then our Mimecast does all of our virus scanning and email filtering for spam and potentially phishing emails. So that brings me to what initially started this was an email alerts to an email that went out to a number of agencies, cities mostly in the state of California. They all came from a single email address, HOLTFan78, but they had slightly different messages and different names associated with those messages. I think there were about 16 cities that I know of that had gotten this response, and it came through as a public records request, and then basically a council member saying, I'd like to see all your emails for the last week. And some of the agencies have responded to that, and others have asked for clarification because it's sort of a broad request. So as far as I know, nobody's gotten a response back to the requests for clarification on it. So there's a couple things. We don't know whether it's potentially somebody trying to fish for more information on who they've been talking to, what types of contracts, what vendors you're working with. If they're trying to get that information to sort of target their social engineering attacks, or whether they're looking to see they've been trying to spam us and phish us, and they want to see what's got through our filters to see how they can improve their phishing emails. But yeah, that's all speculation. But it hit a number of agencies, and just it's a little fishy, just the way that it's slightly different content, different people. One says I'm a voter, one says I'm a supporter, I donate. I just wanted to bring to the board's attention that that's an email that's been going around in cities. But hopefully with the awareness that we've been pushing out to staff and bringing this to you now, it's something that we won't have to deal with being caught on. So that's mostly what we've been doing, is just focusing on securing our systems. We've been lucky in the past. We've not had any issues. But we can definitely always improve our methods to try to prevent new attacks as things are changing all the time. And so, we really do appreciate the board and staff support in supporting all these initiatives that we put in place.
Thanks for looking out for us. A lot of craziness out there.
A lot.
Who thought we'd see this from a Hulk fan?
I know.
Who can you trust?
Yes.
There's been a lot of discussion at JPIA. Nancy came back. There's been some discussion at JPIA about covering damages from.
We have cyber liability.
And we have that now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if they've got some people there. If you have questions, you guys are pretty up on everything, but they can be an assistance and it's free. So
all resources, are helpful
Yeah.
in dealing with this stuff.
we've had people from the FBI come and speak several times about what's happening out there, and that's another good source.
Brian, you mentioned emails, like looking for social security numbers. Is that an example of ones we've actually intercepted?
We have not actually intercepted anything that's been legitimate. It's all been, usually it's stuff, most of the stuff I've seen recently, we're doing a lot of the stuff with inventory, and we're still sending out samples of inventory lists, and some of those numbers appear to follow the right format for, say, a credit card number, a social security number. There's only one instance that I've seen that was actually did catch a real credit card, and that was somebody sending out, it was a legitimate email, personal email that was going out. Everything else has been a false alarm, but we'd rather see them and catch them rather than have something go out without knowing about it.
Yeah, I gotta say, as a user, the information that you guys have been sending out, the educational components with Know Before, those emails, and this most recent thing of when you click on a link and it puts up that little stop sign saying, "I'm sure you want to do this." Those have been hugely effective for me personally and have been really valuable. I think you guys are doing a great job, and I really appreciate what you're doing.
The nice thing too about that second chance alert is it will decode your tiny URLs. It's the ones where they compress from this huge long URL to something real small, make it more usable with a mail. It will decode those, so you can see actually where you're clicking.
Great. So, right, you mentioned the penetration testing, and I believe the last time it was done was probably close to 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, it's been 4 or 5 years.
What was the result of that at that time?
I think we had a couple of systems, mostly old operating systems. I think it was Server 2003 and a couple of Windows XP boxes, but I think it came back pretty clean.
Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot of discovery items that we could respond to critical there. Some of the Windows updates that need to be brought on these systems, and others will just get rid of chips and pretty much.
Just the finance department, right? They're vulnerable.
Yeah. Still.
Not the computers that make me
Yeah, that's right. Not my CAD system, right?
Any questions?
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Kelly, your public affairs update.
Howdy, how are you guys doing? So a few quick updates on public affairs before moving to our favorite topic of streetlights. The last 2 weeks, the district is a part of South Tahoe Environmental Education Coalition. It's a coalition of environmental agencies in mainly South Lake Tahoe, but there's some around the basin that work to promote environmental education for our school districts. And so by working together as a coalition, we're able to put together really great hands-on, standards-based education that's fun, outdoors. So in Tahoe, since our school year is mainly cold and snowy, because education happens in the fall and the spring. So the last 2 weeks have been, if you know, any kindergarten through 5th graders, they have been through one of our programs. Last week we were out at Tallac Historic Site, and all the 4th and 5th graders came out. We were out there with U.S. Forest Service, TRTA, Tahoe Institute of Natural Science, Sierra Nevada Alliance. I'm sure I'm missing one of our partners. We were talking about water pollution and how pollution gets into our rivers and our lakes and groundwater. This week we were at Nevada State Beach
with kindergarten, first, and second graders. Same partners, Forest Service, TRPA, Elite, Safeway Tahoe, Tahoe Resource Conservation District, I guess 8 more partners this week. And we're teaching kindergartners about groundwater and second graders about our beautiful Tahoe watershed. So it's a really great opportunity for us to be out in the community with the kids. It's every single kindergarten through 5th grader at all 4 elementary schools. So busy last 2 weeks out of field. Something else that's coming up on Saturday, June 15th, there's the Wildfire Safety Expo. This is something that the city's fire department coordinates each year. It's at the TJ Maxx parking lot. So we'll be there boothing, talking about, water-wise landscaping as a part of defensible space, and just what the district does to help when a fire arises. So if you have nothing going on June 15th from noon to 3, swing by TJ Maxx parking lot. And another thing going on is you had directed me to sign up for both chambers, and so that has happened. So I'm still working with both of them to fill out forms and materials for outreach and getting their outreach materials as well. But looking forward to having that as a part of our outreach education effort. Touching on what John was talking about with fire, so not only have we looked at Chris Stanley's crews, mainly Buck has been leading the effort, looking at all of our facilities outside of the plant in terms of fuel reduction. At South Tahoe Public Utility District are about 100 acres around us. We own this land, there's a ton of trees, it needs a lot of fuel reduction. So California Tahoe Conservancy received a SNPLMA grant a few years ago. Southern Nevada Land Management Plan. There it is. There's the acronym. SNPLMA grant, and it was identifying high areas with hazardous fuel to do fuel reduction on. And the property surrounding our plant was identified in that. So I've been working with CTC this summer. They're as part of the grant, they're doing the planning effort on it. So we are hoping to be signing an access agreement for them to come onto our property and mark trees and come up with a fuel reduction plan. And then this fall, we'll go out to bid with the plan and date together. And then next summer, hopefully we'll have both mechanical clearing of the big portion and some hand crew clearing in that stream environment zone of this creek right here, along the creek. So I'm really excited that we're receiving, there's no match on the district, that we're receiving SNPLMA grant funds, while CPC's receiving the funds. They'll eventually be giving us the funds. We'll have to go out to bid and hire a contractor. I'm told that the amount per acre for fuel reduction, it will cost, the expectation it was likely cost under that to do the mechanical clearing, and it might cost a little over it to do the hand clearing. So I'm hoping that it comes out net zero and we get all the area around us cleared for hazard fuel material. So
we did a thinning project about 25 or 30 years ago out there.
You can tell where.
Yeah.
You can tell where it's. When we walked the site last summer, we were hoping to still include it in our area so it wouldn't need as much work. Where I would guess I don't know if the stream environment zone was included at that time. That's the area down here that's in the worst shape. It's really big.
Yeah, it was mostly up in that area. I
don't believe they went down.
Yeah.
How did the sugar pines survive?
I haven't been out this summer to check them out, but I will. I know that the 6th graders want to come out again this fall to do that field trip.
Plant some more trees.
Plant some more
maybe
trees.
Maybe this time redwoods or something like that, get some diversity.
We'll see. All right. Are you ready for the streetlight update? So, quick review. Liberty streetlights increased about 147% for streetlights last August. The decision on the consent, the decision moving forward, we had given Liberty notice to terminate paying that bill as of July 1st, but we changed that to extend it to the end of December to give us more time. So this last Friday, letters went out to 350 of our customers, their streetlight rate payers, alerting them of this increase. And as you can imagine, some people are not happy about it. So we talked to about the letters went out Friday and hit about 2 days ago. In the letter, we included information on a few survey questions. Are you interested in keeping or removing streetlights in your neighborhood, with a stamped envelope that goes to the city. We also included a city email address. So the city's we're helping the city conduct a survey to try to gauge opinions on streetlights in these four different streetlight districts. We have talked to about 6 customers so far that are not thrilled, and I just want to highlight 2 of them for you in case you hear about it elsewhere. Tahoe Verde Mobile Home Park over on Julie Lane's their address, but kind of by the Y. They are getting hit the hardest, more so than anyone else. It's going from around $400 and something to $1,100 a quarter. So they are obviously not thrilled by this arrangement. The streetlight rates are determined by lineal foot of property. It's a bit tricky for us to explain how the streetlight rates, how we're billing for streetlights, because they were developed so long ago and you don't have very clear documentation. They are very concerned and clearly do not want to be passing along this $147% increase to their customers. And another woman who is very concerned lives off Fairway, and she wants really clear details about why her streetlight bills are more expensive than our neighbors, and how exactly is the equation, the justification. And again, this our ordinance says that we bill based on lineal foot at your property. If there's streetlights in the neighborhood, how many lineal feet your property is on the street, but sometimes the rates don't necessarily coincide with that. So there's some confusion on the customers. We don't have very clear answers. I did have a great phone call today with Liberty's billing supervisor, customer service rep, and our point of contact over there to just try to make sure we're all on the same page to try to prevent the customers from feeling like they're getting a runaround, because they have to talk to Liberty about why rates went up and then talk to us about how the rates are divvied up. It's a confusing system, and it's challenging for both Liberty's customer service reps and our customer service reps to explain it. But we shared with Liberty our talking points, they're sharing with us theirs. We have a system for handling customers so that we're trying to provide the best customer service possible. But you may hear about it. Currently, we have 2 very upset people. We might have more. Did I capture everything?
Yeah, I mean, this is pre-1965 where these calcs began. We have a clear understanding how that was done.
Right.
But that's, we have this legacy issue. We're trying to transfer these lights out of the district, so we know it's we had to get to this point. So we're going to have to engage customers on their rates, and then Liberty came with this huge increase, and then we're talking to the city about taking these over. So thanks for working with everybody, Liberty and the city, to try to keep this going. I think it's going in the right direction. We were going to hit this point where customers were going to be looking at this rate increase and not be happy.
Right.
Who would be?
Who would be?
Right. So.
So hopefully the next step is once the city gets more survey results back I don't know if the best time to do it is in our meetings with our board and John and Frank and City Council to kind of talk about results of those surveys and we bring it up with the council members to see their interest or willingness to take over streetlight bills, but to keep it on the front burner so that we can try to have this issue resolved at the end of the year. Any questions on your favorite topic?
Randy's gonna be so upsetting this.
He's gonna be so upset.
We'll give him the recording.
Okay.
Okay, so you see the past and future meetings?
More of that, or the introduction?
This is Christine Lawrence. She is our intern. She just graduated from Chico State. And so we have her for more than just the summer. We've got her for that 1,000 hours until she finds a permanent position. And she's a Tahoe local, graduated from South Tahoe in 2013. So we're glad to have her with us for the next 1,000 hours.
Thank you for joining us. It's always fun to be an intern. No, I'm serious. If it was not for an internship I took when I was very young, I would have not been able to get a job in Tahoe 15 years later. Man to God, so yeah, if you really do, yeah.
We've got her doing some fun stuff already.
That's it.
Helping map out on Cedar Boulevard and, yeah, we've got an assortment of things for her to help us out on this summer.
Yeah, I just forgot, this is the pamphlet that the JPIA puts out for each of the meetings. So there's a lot of information and data and what they do. So if anybody would like to see this, look at it.
Into open session with nothing to report, and this meeting is adjourned.